Hello, everybody. Welcome and happy Thanksgiving to anyone who is celebrating Thanksgiving today. I am thankful for all of the community in America, and I'm also super thankful for sewing. um, and I just wanted to do something fun today since being in Canada, we already celebrated our Thanksgiving. So I thought I would jump on YouTube live and sew something festive. And I love this time of year for just, spending time with loved ones. And, even if it's just yourself or you and just one loved one, your partner, sharing a meal together is just so special. I love cooking. It's something that I really got into when I got my house. It's like sewing and cooking, and I find a lot of similarities between like following a recipe and following a sewing pattern. Like every time I cook, I'm like, this is just like sewing, like when you wing it a little bit or you know a certain technique that you utilize that's not in the pattern or the recipe. So I wanted to make a table runner. I wanted to really decorate my dining room area, and I thought a lovely table runner down the center that was super festive and cute and handmade would be something really fun to make and something super fun to also share with you. And I'm utilizing some quilting techniques. I am not a quilter. I'm dabbling in quilting and I'm finding it really fun. It's just, I've sewn every garment that there is to sew. I don't need any more, but I do need more home decor. So I just kind of created my own pattern too, which was really fun, but I will share after this live, I'll share the dimensions and the piece dimensions that I'm cutting as well. And so you can make this exact one, or I'll show you just kind of how I took measurements from my table and then built in blocks, just using some math. I know. I would never know in school how much sewing I needed math, but I use it a lot, especially when I'm doing these quilting projects. So I've kind of half made it. You'll see on my table here, I have some pieces already assembled, but I'll show you kind of how I came up with this pattern and the fabric that I used. I did some embroidery, and yeah. Let's just jump into it. So I'm going to head over to my cutting table and show you the pieces that I cut out. Oh, hi, Kim, and happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. So let me hop over to my table. Okay, so this is my very rough pattern. So this is just my little sketch that I did. Before this, I measured kind of the length of my table plus I would say an 8-inch overhang, but I mean, whatever you want to do to your table runner, you can do. But I thought a little overhang was nice, so I measured the length and I added about 8 inches on each side, and that determined my length. So my length is a total of 75 inches. So I just do a rectangle, 75 inches by 15 inches wide, and I just came up with 15 inches. I just visually took my ruler on my table and measured, and I said, okay, what's a good width in ratio to my table width? And that's what I went with. I don't know if there's a standard table runner width, but I'm going with 15 inches. So I should have prepared an easier sketch, but you know what? This is in my studio. This is just a fly on the wall. This is how I operate when I'm just winging it. So what I did is within that, I drew little rectangles. So I wanted like this center to be a block of fabric, and the fabrics that I got were this lovely poinsettia fabric. So this was my starting fabric that I kind of pulled. I got it at the fabric store. I got it at Fabricland. For any Canadian viewers here, I believe it's an exclusive Fabricland print. But my color scheme this year for the holidays, I love pink. in holiday decor. I love it. Pink and green and white, and like I really love that aesthetic. So this was kind of my base, and then I just got some corresponding white fabric with just a subtle kind of holly print to it. I'm not sure if the camera's picking up on that, but it just has a slight holly print to it. And then I got this solid green, so I'm working with this fabric and then as well as a pink. So I have two solids and kind of two prints. But I mean, these like I had in my stash. Like you can look in your stash, whatever you have, know what fabrics you're going to want to use first, and then color in, like make it like a sketch. You don't even need to use a ruler. Like mine was super rough, my sketch. And I'm going to turn this into an article on sewdaily.com. So after this live broadcast, probably in about a week or so, if you're watching this later, the link may be down there below. But I'm going to, do a more in-depth tutorial. Then this video will be embedded. So, but if you're watching live now, you can stay tuned for that in about a week. But if it's just kind of fun to just wing it. And I like, if you don't follow your own pattern, make your own pattern that you want. So what I did was I kind of just then colored in, like I did like this block section. So I'm going to have these like larger blocks, which are kind of those larger pieces, and then like quadrant blocks within those blocks. So I kind of colored it in like with my pen, what I want the print to be and then what I want the solid. And you can label it, or you can actually use markers and color it in, because that's what I use to determine how many pieces I need to cut. And I made it simple, 15 inches. I knew each one of these thirds was 5 inches. So that was super easy for me. So, 5, 10, 15. So, those two needed to be each 2.5. So, it was pretty easy in terms of, I also landed on 15 because it divided into 3, super easy, but that's what I did. So I then cut my professional sticky notes, every studio needs them. So then I just jotted out all my fabrics, and then I wrote dimensions of everything that I needed. And so on here too, I kind of, there's like a thicker, like that's going to be a rectangle of the green. So I have my print in the center. I have all like these little blocks in between, and then I have a rectangle block kind of at my table ends. But color in and, color in, have fun, design your own table runner or use mine. So for mine, my middle section, I cut 15.5 because that is my seam allowance. I'm doing 1/4 inch of seam allowance on all of my edges. It's kind of the standard quilting seam allowance. So I did 15.5, and then I determined that this would be 43.5 inches. So this big rectangle piece out of my print, 15.5 by 43.5. And then I embroidered some fabric. So I used this little cardinal collection from CME, and I did some embroideries. I just hooped a piece of this fabric, and I just put some cardinals on and embroidered them all, and then I cut out pieces. So I needed, and I just did a little zigzag on pieces that were embroidered. So I needed kind of 6 of these white pieces, and some have embroidery on it. So these are 5.5 by 5.5. And then for the blocks that are kind of in these quarters, these were each 3 inches by 3 inches, because the finishing width needs to be 2.5, 2.5 and 2.5, 2.5 by 2.5 finished, so when it's sewn. So I just added 1/2 inch for each of the seam allowances, but again, I'll put all the dimensions in the description of this video so you can make this identical one. So I'll kind of show you. I've already assembled one of my kind of table ends. So this one is kind of gonna go like this is this bottom one right here. So I first did all these blocks and then I attached them to the white bigger blocks and then I sewed them to that rectangle at the bottom. So this is kind of ready to be sewn to this. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sew my entire table runner topper and then cut a batting and then do some quilting techniques and then attach some trims. I have some pom-pom trim and then I'm going to attach the backing and then it's done. So I'll demo right now how I assembled first one of these mini blocks and then the other half and I'll attach it all together. So this is kind of my finished one. So I'll set these aside for now. And so I already have some of these completed, but I had like 12. I needed 12 of the printed squares and 12 of my pink squares. My sticky note fell on the floor. And I'm going off the top one. So I've already assembled these two. I'm going to assemble this one. So I'm looking at my sticky note. It's going to look like this. So I'm going to go to my machine and I am going to sew these two together. And if you're a quilter and you're watching this, you're like, this is quilting basics. But I mean, I'm super new to quilting and it's been so fun. So I'm just going to stitch these together just along these short seams at 1/4 of an inch. Yes, Kim, it's a great idea to sketch if you don't have a room for a design wall. Oh, a design wall. That sounds fun. I know. I've been meaning to I have on like this side, I have an open space. I want to put like a whiteboard or a chalkboard, just something that I can sketch along, put all these ideas. And I actually have a quilting foot installed in my sewing machine as well. It's just, I'm just using different feet when doing quilting on my sewing machine. I've never used this foot before because I've never really quilted. I made a quilted jacket, but I did circle appliques, so I've never really done traditional piecing. So it's kind of fun. So I'm just sewing these together at 1/4 of an inch. And I'm sure if you're doing this whole table runner, you'd want to bulk pin or bulk put together and sew all of your pieces kind of at one sitting of the sewing machine. So I'm just going together. And now I'm going to go and press my seam allowances open because this makes it nice and easy. You can kind of see on my wrong side of one that's already done. So I'm just going to take my iron. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. There we go. I'm going to take my iron and I'm going to press these open. And if you've never quilted before, starting with something small, you could make 4 tablecloths by doing this exact same technique. Just know the end dimensions and then just color in squares and find the dimensions in between and then cut and sew. Or I'm sure there's many patterns out there. So I have these right here. And now looking at this, I don't want to sew them together like this because they're going to want to be kind of in this pattern. So I know I'm creating this block up here. So I see the print ones are like this form. So I'm going to take these and I'm going to make sure the allowances and that seam is perfectly matched. And I'm going to pin and I'm going to stitch those together. Yeah, I've been sewing so much for the home. I put up a little tree in my sunroom and I embroidered some in the hoop ornaments. I have made kind of holiday pillowcases. I'm going to be sewing a tree skirt. We're going to get a real tree this weekend, and I want to make a tree skirt. I'm going to sew some stockings. So I'm just trying to make as much as possible this year. All right, so now I'm going to take this and I'm going to press those allowances open. Oh, this is so cute. All my quilting colleagues, I can't wait to share this with them. They're like, I quilted something. How they, when they sew a garment, they share with me. All right, so I have those pressed open. Okay, so I've assembled this one below, and they're kind of like opposite of each other. So I'm going to now like assemble those blocks together. So I have this one like that, and I have, I want the birds to be facing this way down on the bottom one. So I need the birds to face kind of upside down on this one. So I'm going to go like that. And I'm going to go, these are very similar. Just making sure I have the right side up. And so this one, that one goes like this. And then this one goes like that, and then that one goes like that. Okay, so now I am just like visually, I like to just now say, okay, this is how they go together when they are sewn. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew these rows together. So I'm going to flip this and pin. I'm just going to peel back a little bit of that so I can take this and flip right sides together. So I'm going to sew these two seams, and I'm going to, and then I'm going to sew these two together. Okay, so now I'm going to take these to my machine and sew those 4 seams. And I'm just making sure like I'm not catching the other layer underneath. And I'm making sure, again, that these are remaining pressed open. I need to make a new tree skirt too. Yes, and when we lived in our loft, we never had a tree skirt. But I definitely want to make one. I love the faux fur ones. I really want to make a faux fur one. I think that's so pretty. And it's just like making like a little circle skirt, a tree skirt. Nest the seams. I have a hard time aligning seams when it's easier to nest the seams. Okay. Go. So now I have this one, and I'm just going to quickly do this one. I will say it is weird, not weird, but it's just different getting used to sewing with 1/4 of an inch of seam allowance, right? For me it is. But garment sewing, we're used to, like, I always use 1/2 inch, but sometimes it's 5/8, and it's just different. But I find it's fun to just kind of cross over kind of different crafts, from sewing to quilting. And, you know, quilted garments are so in right now. Like, you can cut, like, essentially a jacket, cutting out your pattern pieces, and then like drawing blocks in them and cutting them out and quilting them. It can be so fun too. Okay, so now I'm going to press these seam allowances open. I'm a little nervous when it comes to the actual quilting part. Like piecing, it's like easy for a sewer to grasp their head around because it's just like sewing fabrics together. But the actual quilting, I get a little nervous. I've tried some free motion, which I'm not going to do because I need a lot more practice. But my machine actually has some quilting stitches that I actually might utilize in this table runner. But it's always, like, in the past, I've just drawn, like, kind of diamond shapes and did straight quilting, which is pretty easy and, you know, achievable for a garment sewer, just straight lines. But I need to practice my free motion quilting for sure. Okay, so now I am going to sew these rows together. And I find that this is how I tape a paper sewing pattern together. I always tape all the the paper pieces in a row, and then I tape the rows together. So I'm sure there's different ways, like you could sew those rows together, like in piecing them together, but this is just how like my brain from sewing and paper tiling that this is coming together. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to place it right sides together. And I'm going to match up those seams. And I am going to pin. And then I'm going to sew those together. Kim, I like the 1/4 foot with guide. Yeah, this 1/4 foot it's super helpful. Okay, now I'm just gonna like peel back and make sure that these are nice and together. This is going to be really, really cute. So now I'm going to press that seam allowances open. I mean, it's very similar to sewing, where it's a lot of sew, then press, then sew, then press. But that I'm used to. So. All right. makes me so happy looking at the back of this. Like all my 1/4 inch seams all pressed open. It's making me very happy. All right. So there we go. And so now I'm going to take kind of this piece and then sew it to the bottom here. I'm making sure I want the cardinal embroideries to be close to the center main piece. So I'm making sure to stitch this on kind of this row that doesn't have embroidery. And you don't have to add embroidery. I just thought, like, how cute are these little birds? And I've been using my embroidery machine a lot for sewing for the holidays. There's such cute designs out there. Oh my gosh, we're almost at like cutting the batting out. I just need to sew in the center and then we're gonna bat it and then you're gonna see me try and quilt it. I should have practiced this more, but again, like, what fun would that be tuning in live if it's like me not just experimenting and having fun and trying out new stitches. Like, one of my things for the New Year's, I do want to make like a full bed quilt. I will make a baby quilt too, for my little boy as well. That's gonna be super cute and fun too. So I'll make his first, and then I'm gonna make ours. Okay, so now I'm gonna press that allowance open. This is also a great gift to give if you know, like, a loved one's kind of kitchen dining room color scheme or their favorite color. You can make them a little table runner. Okay, so now it's time to put our kind of top together. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit so we get a full picture. Okay, so this is kind of that section. And this is this section. So we need this middle section to go in between. So I'm just going to pin right sides together. Oh. I need a bigger table. There we go. I'm going to pin these together. Then I'm just going to kind of flip up and then pin and stitch these together. Okay, we are getting there. I'm actually really excited to do some like of the quilting. I think I'm gonna, I know talking with all my quilting colleagues over at Quilting Daily, there's like different ways to quilt, but I think I could quilt it like before the backing goes on, which I think I'm going to do, or I could make like the quilt sandwich and then like and then quilt it and then bind the edges, but I don't know if I want quilting on the bottom layer, so I think I'm going to quilt the top with the batting and then attach the backing so the backing will be smooth. I think that's what I'm going to do. There's still so much I need to learn about quilting, but I'm kind of just jumping in just as I learned to sew. I learned to sew when I was younger, and I went to some sewing classes, but a lot of my sewing is just jumping in and just trying it and just figuring out what works. So like just like this, I'm not following a pattern. I'm just kind of designed it, cut it, kind of with already the knowledge that I have of sewing, just kind of seeing how I can put it together, which is super fun, but everyone has a different style. Oh, this is so cute. I really love this fabric. Okay. I find doing just kind of a bunch of straight line, it's very relaxing. There's no opposing curves to sew together, no gathering, no setting in a sleeve. It's just, it's relaxing, and it's also a great way to use up scrap fabrics as well. Like this pink and green fabric I've had in my stash, like I've had these tiny pieces in my stash for so long, and now I just kind of went into I have like a solids bin of like little pieces of solid fabric, and you never know when you're gonna need them. I use them sometimes for like undercollars or cuffs, but quilted projects are great for using up those. Now I have an excuse to save like literally even smaller pieces of scraps. Okay. All right. So I don't think I need my pattern anymore because I've like assembled my top. So I'm just gonna quickly press these allowances open, and I'm done the top portion of my table runner. Oh, there we go. Of course, my sweater's matching it. Ow. Steam got a little close to my hand there. There we go. I forgot to trim this thread. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I haven't cut my backing yet. Because, you know, sewing it together, I wanted to cut it after, just, once everything's like pressed and, just to make sure I'm getting the right size. And I'm actually going to cut it like a bit bigger if things shift while quilting. I'm going to do that. So I'm going to actually just put this to the side. I'll put this away, and then I'm just going to move my iron off of my table. And I'm going to lay my batting out. I hope I have long enough. Hopefully. Okay. So I'm just laying it out. And I'm just taking this, and I'm going to just I'm going to try and align it so I don't have to cut this edge. Oh my gosh, please be long enough. Oh. There we go. All right, I'm going to just kind of I'm gonna trim around it after I'm done quilting it before I put the backing on. So I'm just going to, I should use, I know there's quilting pins that you can use, or you use safety pins. So I'm going to use safety pins alongside regular pins because I'm not prepared. Okay. There we go. I'm going to use some safety pins while quilting so I don't hurt myself. I do have quilting gloves though. And I think I'm going to stitch in the ditch for these, but on this I'm going to do a stippling stitch. Just going to work my way down. Making sure there's no like tucks. I'm just using regular pins because I ran out of, oh no, I have a few. I have a few more safety pins in my, I need to get some quilting pins. I'm just going to peek at my comments here. What kind of batting are you using? Leslie asks, and I'm using it's actually quite thin. It's like a cotton batting. It looks like it's like a lightweight. It's not very thick. So it is a lightweight batting that I am using. I threw away the package that it came in. Again, like, it's just so funny with like like I would know exactly, but with batting, being new to this, I just kind of, I need to get familiar and experiment more with like ordering it, really knowing the weights and everything. But I know this is just like it was for just like kind of like a thin blanket weight, so it's not too thick. But I'm sure if you wanted a thicker, more quilted look, you could use a thicker batting. Okay, and it looks, oh geez, it looks like I'm just running a little short. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of cut a piece and then just kind of sandwich it in. I don't know if that's correct, but again, I'm just winging it. I think I can do this. If there's any quilters on the comment section. Oh, you know what I could do? I could zigzag stitch, kind of piece those together. I could do that. Just going to kind of, there we go. It's not perfect, but it is an experiment. There we go. Okay, so now I'm just going to kind of cut around it. I'm going to leave a border just for some allowance. I'm going to focus on the centerpiece, but then I think I'm going to zigzag these batting pieces together to kind of piece those so that lays nice and flat. But I can do that after I do that center, because I'm not about to, you know, waste this. It's almost there, so and I don't have any more batting, so I'm going to use what I have, which is, I love doing that with sewing, so I'm going to do it with quilting as well. There we go. And I can like save these little bits like for coasters and stuff. I'm just putting them in a pile for now, but this little cutout is okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try a stippling stitch. Yes, Michelle says, looks like the batting is warm and natural or warm and white. Yes, it looks like a natural one. It has like, it definitely looks like a natural batting for sure. Leslie says, I'm not a quilter, but I've definitely pieced together batting to make placemats for my great. I love that. Yes, please share all your quilting stories as well. Oh, thanks everyone. Michelle says they love the colors. Yes, me too. So I am going to, let me see if I can spin this around my camera so we can see the kind of machine stitch that I am selecting. Kind of try and zoom in a little bit here. Okay, so I mean, I love this machine. It's the Epic 95Q, and I can go into the Joyous Advisor and I can select quilting, and then I can go to quilting, and there's stitch in the ditch, straight stitch quilting. There's free motion quilting. There's binding, there's applique, piecing. I used the piecing when I was practicing and doing the initial the initial blocks. So I've tried stippling with the floating foot and spring foot. I'm not good at the free motion aspect of doing the stippling, but I have, like, if I do select that, it's really cool though. Like you can like watch videos and scroll down here. It kind of has like the steps. You prepare it for quilting, attach the stippling foot. I actually don't think I have I have the floating foot, but here it kind of shows you what to do. I am not good at free-handing the stippling. It doesn't look so good. So I am just going to go into, though, I'm going to minimize this, but they do have quilting stitches. Let me see, where are those? Utility stitches. I should have remembered. Applique stitches. Yeah, there's for applique, heirloom stitches, quilt stitches. Here we go. And there's this one, this 61 stitch. It looks, trying to zoom in here. You can kind of preview the stitch and it gives the look. So if you do rows of them, it gives the look of free motion stippling. So that's what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna try doing that on the center. And can I make this? I'm gonna make this a bit longer. There we go. I can't make it wider. I'm gonna make it a bit longer. And I'm gonna. It says I need to use the S foot, so I'm just going to kind of zoom back out and go back to my machine. There we go. So let's try this. Let's do this together. Okay, so I'm switching to my S foot. Michelle, that's such a good idea. I can join it with interfacing. You know what? I think I'm gonna do that. It's not in the section that I'm quilting doing this quilting to, but I'm gonna do that. So that's right here. So I'll cut a piece of interfacing and then I can join it that way. That's a great idea. I learned so much from everybody. So thanks for joining. And always advice is definitely appreciated. So I'm going to do this stippling stitch on this main section. And I'm not going to do it all because that's going to take a long time. But I'm going to at least do a row for you. And then I'm going to do stitch in the ditch for this section right here. So I'm going to stitch in the ditch all of these together. So I'm going to do one off to the side. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so we can get a fuller picture. Oh, this is fun. I'm excited. Okay, let's try. I don't know how wide this is, so I think let's try here. Okay. I'm a little nervous. I'm gonna start right at this point right here. Okay. And I'm gonna add this. They have this like laser. You can kind of, okay, now I'm gonna zoom in. They have this like laser, so now I can always remain this laser parallel to this edge right here. So I've just turned the laser off and then on. So I'm going to keep the laser on, so when I'm stitching down I can remain that parallel and it can be straight. There we go. Hey, this is going to be cute. Okay, let's do this. So it's just kind of stitching. I feel like this is going to take me hours, but it's, you know what? I have an audiobook to finish after this, so. Oh, look at, that's making a really cool, it looks like free motion. That's cool. I'm just going to remove this pin here. Okay, and I'm remaining this parallel to my edge. Kim asked, what machine are you using? I'm using the Husqvarna Viking Epic 95Q. So I feel like I can just do and then I go beside it and I just do rows of that. That's what I envision doing. So that will take me a while, but that's okay. Kim, yes, it is a very nice machine. I really do enjoy this machine. Okay, you can kind of, I'm going to zoom in now, and so I can show you, let's get into focus, that stitch that it's creating. So I'm envisioning when I do the next row next to it, I'm just going to fill in all the gaps and just do rows. And in my head, it's going to look like I free motioned it, but it might not, but it's still going to look cool. I think it is. So as you can see, this is going to take me a while. So I at least want to get one row done, and then I'm going to do the stitch in the ditch. So we'll just continue on for a little bit more. But any advice? Any plans does anyone have for the weekend or Thanksgiving if you're celebrating Thanksgiving? This could be fun to do. Just quilt a table runner while your turkey's in the oven. You know what I could also do? I could just measure and then do the same stitch on the other side and then just do straight quilting in between. Now I'm like, as I'm doing it, I'm thinking how I can kind of cheat. No, but I think maybe I'm going to take the time to do it all. I've never really utilized this stitch before. It's cool. Just trying to keep it as straight as possible. Oh, Kim says, I'm watching you embroidering on my brother NQ. Oh, that's nice. What are you embroidering? Trying to keep it straight here. I'm making a wall hanging, embroidering the quilt layers instead of free motion. Oh, great. So we're both just hanging out doing the same thing. I love that. That's what I love about these lives. Okay, I'm almost there. I just want to complete one row. Make sure, so I'm just gonna like just like measure in from the side, knowing oh, perfect. I know I always have a little ruler handy. So I'm in here about 5/8 of an inch from this edge, so I'm gonna mark in 5 just so I know I'm at least ending in the same place. Yeah, it is relaxing. It definitely is. So I'm just going to like pin mark 5/8 of an inch so I can aim to end in that same point. A holiday movie on in the background. Yeah, I feel like if I do it close enough to this next stitch, if I really just fill it all in, maybe you won't notice if they're a bit, sometimes with wide stitches, I find it hard to keep them straight because when it's moving side to side, I find it hard for it to be like straight, like but I feel like if I fill it in wide enough, this is like quite a wide stitch. It I feel like it'll look good. I think, you know what, I'm gonna commit to just doing this stitch really close together along the whole thing. I'm gonna take a nap. That I'll spend the rest of the day doing this. I won't be on. Imagine if I just stayed live for like 8 hours while I did this, but I'll finish this and I'll definitely be posting finished project pictures. I'm going to do an article on So Daily. I'm kind of finishing this up, but I just kind of wanted to show more the piecing and what I did to design. and some quilting, just like this. So I'm going to do the stitch in the ditch, and then I am going to just talk through my next steps, and then I'm going to continue on. But hopefully this inspired, you know, to just try something quilted or new, or, you know, a table runner. And if there's like a wonky spot, guess what happens with table runners? Stuff goes on top of them. So get a nice centerpiece, some candlesticks. Okay, see, I kind of, I'm approaching my pin here, so I'm at least, it looks like I did remain quite straight, because the pin represents where the top of it started. So I'm just going to, okay. There we go. Okay, I'm pretty much, okay, so it looks like I just, and there, so I'm just going to like back stitch a little bit, and I'm gonna do a fix, and then I'm gonna cut my threads. Okay. Oh, that's very cute. Let's look in the, I'll try and focus it in the camera here. Look at that. That's quite a cute stitch. So if I just continue row by row, visually that is looking quite straight to the edge. So I'm just going to continue side by side. I'm just going to go up and down all the middle of my table runner. Oh yeah, I kept that really straight. Go me. So then that's just going to be easier, I think, when I do my one right next to it. I don't have kind of that much border. I'm trying to focus this. There we go. It'll just be right next to it. I know, you're just like me. The more I work with it and see it, the more I love it. The more I love it too. It's just like so bright and fun. Okay, so I'm going to remember I have it at a stitch length of 38. So because I'm going to switch stitches, so I'm going to have to come back to this, but I want it the same stitch length. Oh, I could have made it even bigger. Oh, I should have done that. 55 is the biggest. Okay, I'll keep it at 38 though. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to a straight stitch, and I'm going to go back, I'm going to switch to, what's this, J foot. I wonder if that's a stitch in the ditch foot. No, I'm going to go back to just my regular foot, and I am going to stitch in the ditch around, and this is a common, what I've talked to my quilting colleagues, and my limited research is a stitch in the ditch is a very common way to, especially if you do a lot of piecing, if you just stitch in the ditch along all of your pieces, your little squares, or if you have triangles or shapes, just stitching in the ditch is a really good way to quilt. So I'm going to just start up here, and I'm just going to kind of work my way around and just stitch in the ditch. Whoa! Oh. What just happened? Oh, a little piece came flying. Where did that come from? Oh dear. Oh, I didn't have this back piece on. There we go. Oh, you know what? This piece just came off my machine. Oh, okay. On this little, see, live, you know, things happen. I think the repetitive stitching, I'll have to, oh, it's what holds the thread in place. Okay, let me see. Can I sew without that piece? Okay, let me just try. Oh yeah, there we go. Okay, I'm just gonna continue on. I'll fix it after, but it seems like it's still working. So I'm just going to stitching going right around. I have that laser guide too, so that's really helping me as well. And I'm using my fingers to spread open that seam as well. I'm just going to back stitch here a little bit. I'm just going to kind of start here. Oh, that was back stitch. There we go. So I'm just going to kind of follow and just pivot. Go. So this is super easy, just kind of following the seams line. Yes, no, I realized that I kind of wanted my backing to be smooth. I thought about doing the backing and then quilting it with like the entire quilt sandwich, but I think I just want the backing to be smooth since it's going to be laying flat anyway. I don't know. So there's I wasn't sure if I wanted my backing to have quilting lines. Just going to kind of come up here. I guess I could do all of the small squares, and then I could go in and do the big squares with the backing. So I'm just gonna take a break from this because, as you know, quilting is quite the tedious task, but relaxing. So I'll continue on. You can kind of see on my stitching. I'm going to continue stitching in the ditch, and then I'm going to continue my stippling stitch all along my center of my table topper. But let me come back here. So once all my quilting is done, and I'm thinking on this piece here, maybe I could try some triangle quilting. So I'm going to kind of try 3 different quilting techniques in one table runner. So I think I'm going to do diagonal quilting lines, and then the stitch in the ditch for here, and then I have my stippling stitch all along here. And once all that quilting is done, what I'm going to do is, I have this fabulous pom-pom trim. I am going to stitch it to this. I'm going to trim my batting. Then if I find the end here, I am going to lay this like so and baste it in place so that when I sew it, I'll kind of have this pom-pom trim on the outside. So I'm going to attach pom-pom trim to just the ends. I don't want it up the sides because I want them to the pom-pom trim to hang off the table. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm just going to cut a piece of solid. I'm going to cut a piece of, I have enough of this green solid. I'm going to measure and cut the whole rectangle from this base all the way to the other, and I am going to stitch it right sides together, and I'm going to leave an opening in one of the ends, and I'm going to flip it right side out like I'm making a pillow, and then I'm going to top stitch around the entire edge. And then that will be my table topper. So it's like the hardest part is completing the top for sure, and then it's like a pillow assembly. Just right sides together, leave an opening, turn it to the right side, and top stitch, and you'll have it beautifully finished. And I'll probably just hand sew that opening closed, and I'll have that pom-pom trim on the edge like so. So that's going to be super, super cute. So again, I hope I inspired you to make your own table toppers, or just any little quilted projects that you can add to your table just to make a gathering with loved ones, a meal, just a little extra special and homemade, and you'll enjoy the time in your studio. As you can see, just sitting down at a machine, sewing straight lines, sewing quilting lines, put on a holiday movie, or like this, talk to a friend. If you know a friend's quilting, give them a call and chit chat while you're quilting. And thank you so much for joining me today. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and happy Thanksgiving to everyone out there. I'm thankful for you all from the bottom of my heart. So from Sew Daily, bye, and we'll see you next time.